All right, what is up, everybody? This is Wakeman, and I'm joined by Ryan, aka Piano Guy 27. How you doing, Ryan?
These PRs, they're not late at all. We're doing great. Um, things are good.
Um,
Glad
oh,
we got this done before week 2.
dude, the mini sprites are working now. On the other videos, like the sprites over by like the move section and the speed tiers weren't working, so they're here now. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, we're gonna be doing Basculegion PRs for season 4 of the GLDL. Apologies that this is late. Ryan and I both ran into some scheduling stuff between I had family stuff and he went on vacation and didn't line up, but we're here now.
Our Australian is in Australia, so yeah,
Right?
it
Yeah.
was it was a little tough.
We attempted to get all three like three mods on every PR and we failed on all of them. Uh,
Great. We're really
uh
winning right now.
oh yeah. But just gonna go over real quick as I normally do in case you haven't watched any PRs from me or this league before. We don't take coach playstyle into account for these PRs. So if someone is really good at using a hyper offense team and they draft a hyper offense team, we're not gonna hold that against or for them. We're just gonna look at the team as it looks on paper on this doc. Um,
Mm.
and it's not predictive. You know, just because we say you have a bad team does not mean we think you're gonna get last. It just
Yeah,
means that your team
especially
might
here
not.
in Basculegion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
we got a
think
lot
there's
of
that
good
many
pieces
like
here.
weak teams here. But that being said, I am gonna start with number 14. This is MK Devastator's team. Um, so looking at it here, right away you see, the Iron Bundle Hail mode with Obama Snow is super strong. Chiyu Iron Bundle is obviously also really strong. Chiyu Sylveon is also really good. There's a lot of really good pieces here, and there's a lot of like two mon groupings that I like. Um, I think one of the major issues I have is like in general, there's a lot of rock weakness here. Like your resists are Doug Trio and Toxicroak. And like Toxicroak's physical bulk is like non-existent, which is what most rock types are. So you're really struggling to switch into rock types here. Um, as well as kind of fighting types and also really fire types. You have Salamence and Chiyu as your resists, and that's it. Um, so in general, just the defensive synergy here is just like real easy to exploit. But I mean, as we said, like I don't think the teams here are that bad at all. Like this team is not really bad. Like the modes here are just so good. I personally think like Frostmoth could probably be something like anything else here. Um, I think Salamence is a
Yeah,
better Tailwind setter. Plus, you have Iron Bundle, Icy Wind anyway. Um, I also don't like the speed control here is not bad because you have Iron Bundle, but like I feel like it's outside of the Iron Bundle. Like I feel like you're gonna have to almost because I think on a team like this where you have the Blizzard mode, like you don't always want to have to run Booster Speed, Icy Wind on Iron Bundle. Like I feel like you
yeah,
want the option to be able to run like Specs Blizzard and stuff like that. I mean, you can run Icy Wind on a Specs set and vice versa, but I feel like you want the freedom to be able to do that, and I'm not sure that you really have that here because your Tailwind setters are mid at setting Tailwind. They both have bad typings, and their speed tiers aren't insane. And there's also
yeah.
no Trick Room setter here, unless I'm
No,
missing something. But yeah,
there's
that
no trick room.
yeah, that's my general thoughts. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean a lot of the same. I think the other thing too that we haven't mentioned is while you do have some like pretty good like special bulk resists and stuff, like Sylveon can tank a blizzard, Ice-Q can tank a blizzard, but like people can actually use your own hail against you pretty well, I feel. Um, Salamence, Serena, those kind of mons just drop to an opposing blizzard, right? Um, and that's something you got to be really like conscientious of, really careful about in your prep and your play for it. Um, I do think the team does have like a lot of good output. I do especially really like the special output from this team. I'm not sure how much of an issue the slow mode's going to be. There are a couple teams in this division that have pretty strong TR modes, but I don't think that like Sylveon is slow enough to kind of make that work. You've got the Ice Skew, which can, especially with the Ice Head ability, can make that kind of work out in Hail. So I think that the team works out overall, and I mean Blizzard spam's just really strong and very hacksy. You obviously have a decent chance to freeze people often. Um, I think this team could definitely has some mons though that I think could be swapped out for other things. I think the Frostmoth in particular. I love Frostmoth, by the way, one of my favorite Pokemon. People who know me know that I'm a huge fan of it, especially with Terra. It's really strong this gen. Even with me being a massive fan of it, it feels like you'd rather have something with Slush Rush to get the speed boost if you wanted another like Ice type mon, or you'd get something to kind of patch some defensive holes in the team because that rock weakness that we talked about is pretty severe. Um, so yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the team overall.
Also, get rid of Ice Cube. I know it's tier 5, but like that thing does not
No,
need to be
keep
here.
Ice Cube. Ice Cube's cool. Keep Ice Cube.
Well, you'll have to decide which one of us to listen to on that one then.
Yeah.
To be fair, it is a tier 5, so that's probably not the worst thing. I would replace the Frostmoth before I replace the Ice Cube. I also like wish the Serena wasn't needed here, but it like kind of is for the Queenly Majesty. I think the team really likes that because like Chiyu, really commonly just people answer that with Fake Out, Iron Bundle, same thing. I think having that is really nice. But like it just sucks that it just adds to your fire and ice weaknesses. And yeah, just 4 ice types on a team is just like, I don't know,
That's
man.
a lot, yeah.
It's
you can only Terra around a weakness so many times.
Yeah.
Like you can Terra something to resist rock, but like it's like cool. I need to Terra like 4 mons to resist rock in a matchup. And
right,
like you can't get everything, so that's definitely something to consider.
Well, and especially with the rock weakness, they're like your main things. Iron Bundle, Salamence, Chiyu, and they're all weak to it. It's not like you have like a high tier option that like really beats up rock types, and then your low tiers are all weak to rock. Like that's one thing, but that's why I worry about this team defensively.
Yeah.
But
and Obama Snow as well. Yeah, it adds up.
Right, for sure. All right, well, you good to move on, Ryan?
Yep, I'm good to move on.
Cool. You want to start this next one? Depp is his team.
Yep, Depp is his team. So real quick, before just because this is going to be relevant for several teams, including Depp's especially. These PRs were made and are being done with the initial team after the draft. So for Depp's team, that had really unfortunate consequence in terms of PR rating because Depp's has since changed the team a lot. I think hugely for the better. I think if we were to re-rank Depp's team, it'd actually be one of like the highest ranked teams now. But we sort of said we were going to do it with whatever it was after the draft, and we're committing to that. So just want to get that out of the way now because a lot of the critiques of this team have to do with the mons that are currently present and how they work together being exchanged later for kind of better options, right? So you got Goldango, Magnezone, Donphan, Salazzle, Gogoat, Wigglytuff, Venonat, Iron Jugs, my boy, Mesprit, Stonejourner, and Dragonair. This overall is a pretty strong collection of mons. You've got the reason why this team definitely fell off for some folks was there's a lot of ground weaknesses. The Goldango, Magnezone, Salazzle, Stonejourner are all pretty big ones, and there are some good like neutrals slash resist. Donphan can usually take a ground type move pretty well because it's got a high Fizz Def. Gogoat obviously is fine with that. But when you kind of when we were looking at the teams, though, this is a fairly strong division, and that weakness really was compounding, and that definitely resulted in this. I do want to talk about some things I think this team can do, though, especially with some of its current pieces. I really like Iron Jugs on this team quite a bit. I'm kind of our resident Iron Jugs stan. I think it works really well with this comp. I think that a lot of these Pokemon benefit from Fast Tailwind. The Mesprit, the Mesprit, Goat, Goldango, those kind of mons. And that's really one of the things Iron Jugs is best at doing. It's also a good special offensive presence on this team as well. Mesprit is a mon I'm really excited to see get some play. Obvious, it's the only Trick Room setter on this team, but the low speed tier Pokemon on the team, like the Donphan, the Venonat, the Wigglytuff, can put in some work in Trick Room. So like, not super worried about that. And I do think that not only is it a Trick Room setter, but Mesprit just has a lot of stuff. It has Levitate, which is really nice for Earthquake spam stuff. It's got a really, really extensive move pool and pretty solid stats. So I'm very excited to see this thing get used in a non-max format. I think it's going to do well. Stonejourner pairs well with a lot of the mons on this team. I think the power spot especially allows some of these lower tier mons to shine. I think like Stonejourner with Go-Goat, Donphan, Dragonair, things like that, really going to pop off nicely. So like generally it's not a bad team at all. This definitely more than any other team fell victim to, oh no, we have to rate this team before it can get its trades in to make everything synergize the way it's supposed to look. So what do you think, Wake?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't have much else to say here. Like Ryan said, it's unfortunate, but we do have to consider this as we see it because that's fair to everyone. I believe the trade was dropping Magnezone for Tauros Aqua, which makes this team a lot stronger. But
much better. Yeah.
But I love Iron Jug's Golden Go. I'm like 7-0 with it in UGA, and it's carrying my ass. I have great tusks, so upgraded Donphan, but Donphan will more or less do the same job, just slightly worse. Well, a lot worse, but it'll do a similar job. But yeah, I mean, in general, like the speed control here is good. You're definitely gonna be wanting to stop Trick Room from going up, as opposed to playing under it, which I think you have some tools for. I'm increasingly not a fan of Imprison as like a consistent Trick Room counter, but I do think on a bulky Pokemon like Mesprit, that's the best. That's the best use case for it. So I think that's a good answer. Plus, you just have like fast fake out. I believe Salazzle is now the third fastest fake out in the game after Weavile and Sneasler.
Like yeah.
And beating out like all the base 115s, because I think there's like 3 or 4 mons that have fake out at 115. I think it's both Sneasels and both Persians. So being able to outspeed those, that's just a really nice benchmark. Salazzle's super consistent at doing that, plus spreading status with Will-O-Wisp and Thunderwave and Toxic. It's super solid. But yeah, I mean, just unfortunately fell victim to only being able to make one trade in grace period, and yeah, that's about it. That's about all I've got for this one.
I do think the team will work pretty well in practice with the Goldango, Tauros Aqua. That Goldango was also originally in Urshifu. And I do think it's going to work a lot better now that the team's kind of complete in a way. I will say though, it feels weird to say, I do feel like there's a lack of some utility players on this team. There's not, do you know what I mean by there's not like a lot of like super dedicated, like this is my support piece. Like you have a lot of stuff with good support moves, like Jugs, Salazzle, Mesprit, Wigglytuff. Like those all have good supportive moves, but you don't have anything that's like, oh, this is like the support Pokemon. That's helping a lot of that nonsense.
I think Iron Jugulus I think it's a really kind of difficult mon to build with, because it can be as simple as 2 attacks, Tailwind, Protect, call it good. But I think that problem I've run into personally, and I know you've used it too, the problem I've been running into with it is like, it's hard to get the speed I want and the bulk I want and the power I want all at the same time, because its stats are all good, but none of them are like bonkers insane. Like 122 Spatak, 108 speed, like they're good but not crazy, especially when your stabs are like not that strong with Dark Pulse and Air Slash. So like that's one. What was that?
Yeah, it needs to have some kind of like special attacking support. You do get Acid Spray from Salazzle, I think, but you have to like fake Tears mons and things like that pair really well with it.
Yeah, but I like Salazzle on this team a lot. I think it'll probably it looks like on paper it will end up probably carrying a lot of that support weight.
Yes.
I think being able to Will-O-Wisp, being able to Thunder Wave, having that fast fake out, and you don't really have to invest much for overheat to kill stuff. Um, I think Salazzle will carry a lot of that weight. And like you said, like there's stuff that can like I mean, Venonat is a dedicated support mon, but it's Venonat, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people have been drafting Venonat, and I get it. I know it's got, Rage Powder, and like it's got some other good like support move pool stuff. And Compound Eye Sleep Powder is obviously really good. So like it's a lot of value for where it's at, but man, I saw a lot of people taking Venonat early, and I was like, that feels a little early for that mon in my my personal opinion a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure. I'm generally of the opinion that like uber low tier NFE Rage Powder is not super crazy, but I mean it's a niche that's nice to have regardless. It's not like the worst.
It's
tier
a very
5.
nice niche,
Yeah.
especially on a team with Goldango.
Mm-hmm. All right, so up next we've got a two-way tie for 11th. I will be taking the first one. This is Pokeholix's team. So this team is like really weird.
Yeah.
I like the top core in general, like Landorus. Well, I like a lot of the pieces here. Like Landorus is great. Amoonguss in tier 2 is really great. Lycanroc in tier 3 is really great. Bruxish in tier 4 is really great. Urshifu, Enamorus, like there's really good value amongst most of these picks. The issue I kind of run into is there's a little bit of like a lack of cohesion to me. Like Amoonguss Landorus is cool. Amoonguss Enamorus can work. You're really running a lot of ice weaknesses, but you do have Urshifu and Lycanroc to hit those, which those hit those very, very well. I think that the fast mode, like there's kind of like no speed control. Like
Yeah.
Enamorus is your tailwind setter and Electrode can Thunder Wave, but I don't think that's the most consistent thing in the world.
Electrode. I think Electrode also gets Electro Web.
It does not.
Though.
It does
It
not.
does not this gen. I think
Nope.
it did, but I'll check.
Yeah,
All
check
right,
that for sure.
For
But yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Oh man, that sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, like nothing gets Electro Web. I think it's like the Magnezone line and like Ampharos and of course Aleki still has it, but
yeah, the mom that definitely needed it.
Right. But like yeah, I just that's my main issue with this. I think like your base stat total average being 511 is nuts. Like that's a really high average base stat total. So like just the amount of stats here is really good. It's just like I'm just like not seeing like the modes here, and I think modes are not mandatory, but when you don't have like when you have such a glaring lack of speed control, you also like your Trick Room setter is like Bruxish, which is also probably
and
not
Delphox.
ideal. And Delphox too. Like I think the defensive synergy overall here is like fine. You don't really have any like huge glaring weakness. Yeah, the rock weakness is a little bad, but
rock
like
and
I said,
ice and ground are all good into this team, but not like overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
I like definitely tear around a lot of stuff easily.
Yeah, ice is good for like beating like 3 of the 4 top mons on this team. But yeah, I just think in general, like the lack of the speed control is pretty rough. Amoonguss helps with the lack of speed control, like just in terms of being able to just soak up hits while your other thing goes second. But like, I don't know if that's enough here, I guess. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this one, Ryan?
Yeah, I generally agree with you. I think this team, obviously, like a lot of the mons here are also good like setup mons. You can like set up. You can put Amoonguss next to something and set it in. And I think there's some good like I think Amoonguss also pivots well on this team. I think Amoonguss can pivot in and out really nicely. There's some repeated types in some places. I feel like I don't love the Electrode Hisui over even just regular Electrode, just because I don't know how I feel about the double grass there, you know? Um, the lower tier mons, the Alolamol and Chansey, we haven't really talked about. Definitely can come and do some good work. Those are two solid, bulky, annoying Pokemon. The other thing is like there's a move in the game and it's called Taunt, and I'm a little worried about it into
Yeah.
a lot of these mons. A lot of like the support pieces on this team are decently slow outside of like the Electrode, and so I do think that like there's a lot of like stuff here that definitely feels like it could end up being taunt bait. And I do think that that is something to consider. The offensive presence of this team, though, like if your opponent can't get speed control, or you just like have that Landorus or Shifu, or you have her Shifu next to a Mungus, and your opponent can't do anything, you just kill everybody. Like like the actual like output this team has in potential is actually one of the best of any team in the division. It's just that like there is a question of the consistency to actually get that potential out, because a lot of the time if someone is willing to sack a Pokemon to get themselves that speed advantage or get themselves whatever advantage, they likely I think can get that 3v4 advantage back in their favor pretty easily, depending on how the team is played.
Yeah, I agree. I also think like in general the bulk isn't super great here in general. Like it's
Yeah.
not terrible. Like Enamorus is pretty bulky, Amoonguss is bulky, and having that bulky redirector does help, but Amoongus's typing isn't the best. Like it has a lot of weaknesses. Um so that in my opinion sometimes that kind of counteracts how good its bulk is. Um but yeah, that's my general. And I will say, I agree that maybe base Electrode is better here, but Electrode Hisui Chloroblast is messed up. It's
It's so good.
dude, I played against it week 1 and I was like, surely my Rotom can live this, right? It only has base 80 special attack, Rotom Wash. It did never,
No,
in no world
no.
does it live. It's like pretty much Gigaton Hammer, like around the same attacking stat. It's 10 base power lower, but you can use it every turn.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm good with this one if you are.
Yep, I am too. Solid
Cool.
team. Excited to see it get played.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you got Poppy's team.
Yeah. So we've got here. Actually, don't you have Poppy's team?
No, I started
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're
Pokeholix's
right.
team.
I'm being silly. Okay, so we've got Ursaluna, Bronzong, Jumpluff, Typhlosion, Quillfish, Magneton, Wugtrio, Lilligant, Hisui, Mismagius, Umbreon, Jigglypuff. My first question when I looked at this team is where is Torkoal? Where is the Sunsetter? There is none. And then I went, oh, surely we'll have a Prankster Sunny Day user. And then we don't have that. So I'm very confused by that. That really influenced. Like, don't get me wrong, Ursaluna Bronzong, like that's crazy. Like that alone, put an Umbreon with that. That's nuts. That's gonna like murder most people anyway. But this team has like the like most Suncore I've ever seen, and I genuinely don't know what gets to set Sun most of the time. Um, and that's like a big problem, I think. And I also am not wholly convinced that Ursaluna Bronzong is going to be like obviously you have the Umbreon there too for the Trick Room mode, but I'm not actually wholly convinced that you're going to be able to get that off very consistently in terms of like having enough turns of Trick Room to really take advantage of that, because you have that Guts boost you need to get on the Ursaluna if you're running the Guts set, and even if you're not running the Guts set and just relying on that insane attack stat, like I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get that output in those turns. But yeah, the mons here individually are quite good. I especially like the Mismagius here, just to kind of pair with the Ursaluna. Jumpluff's a really good Tailwind setter, and having like Ursaluna Jumpluff like Mismagius, and you can just click Earthquake on Ursaluna is really, really nice. Um, I think Umbreon's like an incredibly good glue piece in general and a nice support for this team with the Jumpluff and Bronzong as well. Typhlosion does a lot of solid damage. It's a good fire type. Scarf Eruption especially can really mess people up. Magneton for like a low tier Pokemon's not bad. Mug Trio is really, really fast. And that's what Mug Trio is. It's just really fast. Hisuian Lilligant, I think, is a really, really strong Mon. I don't know if this is the right team for it, but I think it could pop off if like put in the right position. This team also doesn't have this team does not have Fake Out, I believe. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And I don't know how I feel about I personally speaking, when you have a Trick Room team, I think you do want at least one thing with Fake Out so that you can Fake Out Trick Room a little bit more safely. So that's kind of my thoughts. They're a little bit scattered. I just need the Sunsetter. If you had like a prankster Sunsetter, like even something like a Strudel, would make me happy. Oh, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I think like any Sunsetter would be a good Sunsetter here. You just have so much stuff. Like Jumpluff doesn't need Sun. Like it's fast
No.
on its own. Not having Fake Out makes me like a little bit skeptical of its ability to like actually set Tailwind on this team because like its typing is so terrible and its bulk is like also terrible. Um so that's like a little suspect to me. I think that like in general I really like the Trick Room mode here. Like you said, I definitely wish there was a Fake Out user here. I'm of the opinion that every team should have a Fake Out user. Um, but like wait, did he not use all of his free points? Because
I believe
Lilligant
he
is tier
I
two.
believe he didn't.
Yeah, so Poppy, I believe you have 10 points. You might want to check that, but I'm pretty sure you have 10 points to play with. So trade that Jigglypuff up for something that'll do something. Uh, um, but no, I mean, yeah, I don't really have much to say about this that you didn't already say. I think there's some like weird repeat typings that don't have to be there too. Like, I don't really think Magneton has to be here. I don't think Quillfish and Wug Trio have to be here. I mean, Wug Trio's tier 5, so and it's fast, so like whatever there. But um, I'm not convinced that Lilligant is worth it without Sun.
I'm not either.
Like
The hustle set's pretty good, but still.
I'm, yeah, I don't, yeah, dude. I find it so hard to bank on just every move has a 20% chance to miss, but
Some people are just born different, and it
that's
has
true.
aerial ace.
True. Yeah, that's always nice to have. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is just like the last team to me where it's like, I will say the defensive matchups into like every type here are pretty solid. Um,
Mhm.
I know that the type chart doesn't mean everything, but he does have a net positive or even on every type, which is pretty nice. Even if that doesn't mean everything, like even if you look at his top tiers, they don't share a ton of weaknesses, so that's nice. Um, but yeah, I just like the synergy and cohesion here is just like so much stuff wants Sun, and there's just no Sunsetter, and I just don't really get it. Like I think Jumpluff gets Sunny Day, so like that's probably your best Sunsetter.
It is. I just checked if Lug Trio got Sunny Day just to be sure,
That would be
and it does not.
hilarious. But yeah, like you said, I think having no Fake Out is an issue as well. Yeah, that's kind of all I've got for this one. You got anything else?
Oh,
All right, we will move on. I will start with Master Phoenix's team. Um, so I will say, in my opinion, this team is like there's a little bit of a gap between the bottom four and this one, in my opinion. I think this is where the teams start to get really good. Um, but in general, I think that um, this team, like you see the Alecki and you see the Moltres, and it's like okay, that feels like such a good lead on its own. Like you just Electroweb, uh, and what's its move? Fiery Wrath. If
fire
you
out,
want,
yeah.
you could Electroweb Nasty Plot, whatever. I think that in general, I think the main concern I have with this is the damage output is maybe just a little bit low,
Mhm.
like initially especially. I'm not a Moltres Galar believer, but I'm not like the world's biggest Moltres Galar believer. I think it's good, but I don't think it's like mega broken like it used to be, and I don't think that's really a hot take. But I think that like its initial damage output is very underwhelming. Like obviously it's good at getting setup going, but um, I think in general like your just raw attacking stats are not super insane here. Like Iron Leaves is strong. Um, I actually haven't seen much out of Iron Leaves. I'm interested to see how that does on this team. I think Aleki should get Electric Terrain, so that's a potential good setup for it. Um, and Tinkaton is like insanely broken. Like I used to think this mon was just like, it's fine. But like this mon is cracked, and I think it works super great here. Um, Being able to just ignore like Frigraph and Bruxish and Serena means like because usually at least two out of those three is going to get drafted in like any given division, if not all three. And so that's like two or three matchups where it's just like I can guaranteed bring fake out when no one else can, and that's so awesome. Um, as well as just like Arcanine supports because Moltres' physical defense is a lot worse than its def, so you can just intimidate stuff. You can drop things speed with Aleki. I think it's the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking this might kind of be not quite a protect the king team fully, but like I think your like Goltrace protect the king mode here is pretty convincing. Maybe the most convincing mode on the team in my opinion. Um, I wish there was more of a Trick Room presence here because I don't like you have really consistent fake out and you have like flinches off Fiery Wrath, but I don't think your Trick Room denial here is like insane. So I think maybe that's something I would maybe like. I mean, I guess Wordier gets in prison Trick Room.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually really like the Wordier on this team, just to briefly interrupt. I think Wordier is
yeah,
a surprisingly good mon on this team. It's like intimidates good here. I like Frisk, especially on a team like this. The Sap Sipper just gives you some nice pivot as well. And it's got a really good move pool for this team. And like you were saying, like I actually really like the double intimidate with the Arcanine Wardeer.
yeah. I was kind of overlooking that, but yeah, that's a really good point. You want to just continue on with your thoughts from there?
Yeah, sure. I don't have a lot with this team. I will say this is one of the teams I have the hardest time ranking. Because there's a there are teams in Basculegion, quite a few that I feel like are a little bit more experimental, if that makes sense, where people are kind of trying some different strats and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And this team feels like one of the more experimental teams. And I'm not 100% sure. I just am not clear on exactly how well it's going to work in practice, but I like the more I look. This is a team where the more I looked at it, the more I kind of got what it was going for. I think the Samurott and Passimian are solid mons on the team. I especially like the Samurott actually quite a bit. Um, and I think that you can get some use out of Passimian, mostly with the receiver set. If I'm being honest, I don't think you super have. I mean, you'd have some good physical offense, but I feel like a lot of people won't bring Intimidate into this team anyway. Defiance good as well, just for like Icy Wind stuff. So Passimian could definitely get some good use just in of itself and on this team, I think, which is kind of nice to see. Um, Iron Leaves is the mon that I'm the most interested to see. The main argument I've seen against Iron Leaves that I tend to agree with is Iron Leaves doesn't have the best stab moves. Like, it's got a pretty good attacking stat at 130, but it doesn't have anything that like breaks base 90. I'm pretty sure in terms of like hard hitting offensive moves or whatever. I don't remember if its signature move breaks that, but um, there's definitely I'm curious to see the output from that mon. Articuno's a really interesting mon this gen. I'm not sure how much I like it. This might be I've seen Articuno really pop off in draft on more than a few occasions, so I know it's very capable of doing a lot of cool stuff. Um, but you already have the Moltres Scalar there, and I don't know how I like stacking. I don't like how it like stacks weaknesses on the team, if that makes sense. Where I feel like Articuno just adds a lot of unnecessary weaknesses to the team without giving enough benefit. And I do agree with you. I think some initial output concerns are very valid. Even with even like Aleki, which is normally a really powerful mon, Transistor did get nerfed a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit this gen, and that definitely will also influence the output damage that the team has as well. So I think initial output's a little concerning, but I can see the flowchart, like the pivoting flowchart, and how you kind of set this team up, and I think it could be really, really good.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Um, yeah, I do think that the initial I mean, I think we both touched on this, but like the startup turns in this team are gonna be maybe a little like you're probably gonna need a couple turns to get this team going. I think, but if you are able to, then it's like holy cow! I think I see
Yeah.
a lot of Moltres Galar sweeps happening. I'm recording. But yeah, I'm good to move on if you are. Awesome. Do you want to start with Barbecue's team?
Yeah, so this is Barbecue's team. This Legion, Gardevoir, Arboliva, Flareon, Altaria, Grumpig, Cleavor, Spectrier, Delibird, Tinkatuff. So definitely a lot of good value on this team. I don't feel like there's like a lot of the mons here can do a lot of different things, which is good. This team is really kind of centered around the Thundurus, in my opinion. Just you obviously have the rain mode prankster option, right? With the Basculegion, which I think is good. You also get your speed control from there with the prankster Thunder Wave. The Defiant set's really good. And the team feels to me at least partially built around it. You have the Basculegion. I know is a mon that you've been using a lot. I've been pretty impressed by it so far this gen. I think it just does a lot of solid damage. I think
Yeah,
that,
it's great.
and it's got pretty reasonably good bulk. So like even if you can't get this thing in speed advantage, I feel like Basculegion being able to like just adaptability wave crash kill something on the field's really useful. Arboliva, Grumpig, kind of really make up a lot of that Trick Room core. This team no longer has Gardevoir, but Gardevoir would also help with the Trick Room core there. So you've got that Arboliva, Grumpig, Trick Room core. I don't know if you watched the recent game with Grumpig for PDCL, but that
Oh
was
man.
pretty nuts. So I've been very convinced on Grumpig for a while, but I'm growing more convinced by the minute. So that's going to be some really solid like budget Trick Room as well with the Flareon. You know, Guts Flareon can hit really hard in Trick Room. It also can be good in faster modes with some Tailwind support or some just kind of speed control stuff. Cleavor is a mon I'm really interested to see. Cleavor to me, very good natural typing. Bug Rock is surprisingly good. Sheer Force and Sharpness are two excellent abilities, obviously. So that just adds to a lot more of the physical output. This team generally leans a little bit more on the physical side, but I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. Delibird is I've used Delibird before. Delibird got Tailwind this gen, which is kind of cool for it. And it's a pretty good fake out like Icy Wind bot. It doesn't live for more than a turn or two, but it actually can get its job done. And then Tinkatuff is just kind of a better Delibird. If I'm being real for a minute.
True.
Uh, Um, it kind of just does a lot of the same things the Delibird does, but does not have Tailwind and some of those ice type stuff. And the Spectrier, of course, is really strong. Spectrier is kind of a monster. I'm really curious to see how it plays out. The team doesn't have like follow me support or anything, and I feel like Spectrier is a mon where I'd like a Rage Powder or follow me Pokemon to help it set up. I think that with Terra, this it's a bit of a menace though, and it does have,
What is it?
it has base 100 HP.
Space,
So
the
like even
Aegis
though the
player
SPDF
from
is a little,
Europe
even though the
who
defense stats
does
only
crack.
60 with that base 100 HP,
Yeah,
you
he's
can
played Aegis
actually
for a
eat some
while.
pretty
I
solid
think he
hits,
played.
and
Did he
Grimnay
used to
is
play Inkling?
really, really good.
Was he an
So I
Inkling
could see
player?
that really helping clean. I
He
think the
says
main thing
Aegis
with
has
this
two
team
losing
is
matchups. Who are
there
they?
is a little bit of a lack of cohesion across
They're
it.
both DLC.
Um, it feels like a lot of the mods can't fit into multiple modes together very smoothly, if that makes sense. where
Kazuya?
there's certain mons that are here kind of for the Trick Room mons, certain modes that are here for the rain mode, certain mons that are here for the faster mode, and that's kind of how the team operates. And the actual Trick Room setter and Tailwind setters are not the best, which I think kind of exacerbates that a little bit further. Um, I think Grumpig's a pretty good Trick Room setter, but the Tailwind options are kind of meh on a team where there's definitely a lot of Pokemon that are in that base 80 to like 75 range. Like that's almost the whole team. You'd really like to see something to help facilitate that, so a faster Tailwind would be good for that. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I like this team a lot. I think that yeah, I mean, I'm a big Basculegion fan. I'm a big Arboliva fan. I like personally a lot of these mods. Tinkatuff I think is also phenomenal for its tier. I really like the Thunderous. Like it just glues everything together here really well. I think that odds are you're going to be running a prankster set most of the time. Your team's not like overwhelmingly intimidate weak, so I don't super imagine that the Defiant set's going to be super relevant, but maybe if you're trying to, prevent Basculegion from being intimidated. I like Thunderous can rain dance for Basculegion, although I've kind of personally in practice been finding it hard to justify Swift Swim over adaptability like ever.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
like it's Swift Swim is a useful mode. Um Granted, on my team I have Prankster Tailwind, so like Tailwind adaptability is just better than Swift Swim Rain Dance Swift Swim, but I mean this team has Thunderwave, which is like almost as good as Prankster Tailwind, so like I don't like. I think it's fine. You maybe are running Scarf Basculegion a lot more. I think he ran that week one. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, like you said, I think in general, like the offense here, like the damage output's great. I think that the value picks are really good. I'm not the. I'm kind of not the hugest fan of the Cleavor here. I just don't know how much you need that like rock and bug offensive presence. Like, I don't hate it, but like your rock, like look at that rock weakness, dude, and your only resist is Tinkatuff, which is like
Yeah,
it is bulky with Eviolite, but like that means you have to bring Tinkatuff into like a lot of matchups because a lot of people have good rock types, and I mean, granted, you have one of them, but it's also weak to rock because it's a bug type. I think that could be a sticking point for the team. Um, I don't mind the double ghost here. Like they do different enough stuff, and ghost is just so broken offensively that like on these kind
yeah,
of
it doesn't.
with these kind of mons, if you had like a defensive ghost type, like what's an example? I'm blanking, but if you or like Spiritomb, even though Spiritomb doesn't share any weaknesses, you get my drift though. Like just having two offensive ghost types, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But yeah, I think this team is really solid. I think I don't I don't know if Delibird is like ever gonna get used ever here, but
Man, it's so
it's
fun though.
and it's not the worst tier five. Like just objectively, like value speaking, I think it's fine. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good with this one. If you are,
Yep. I overall really like the team.
yeah,
It'll
it's good.
definitely perform function well. All right, moving
All
along.
right, I will start with Bene's team here. So this this is a top heavy team, and I mean, you gotta like right away. It's just Fluttermane, Iron Hands, King Gambit, right? Like that's crazy. That core is super insane. Um, the amount of bulk between those three, the amount of damage output between those three, the amount of versatility between those three, the amount that they all support each other, like those three alone can just come every week and then you just bring whatever the hell you want for your last three and like you'll probably be okay because that it's just so good. But then you
Yeah.
have really good stuff next to it like Gyarados um, is obviously super good. Oranguru is a good Trick Room setter. I maybe wish that the Trick Room setter here was like one of the low speed tier Trick Room setters, like a slow family mon or something, because
Hmm.
your slowest stuff is base 50, and like when you have an Iron Hands, like that's fine. But I do kind of wish that like you had one thing for that like slow speed tier, because I think Iron Hands Trick Room modes are so strong. Um, Obviously, if you've been watching draft matches like literally at all this gen or VGC at all, like Iron Hands just kind of basically doesn't need speed control and
Yeah, no, it'll just
it'll
sit.
just like
Yeah.
win regardless. Um but that's just kind of a nitpick. Other than that though, like I just can't say enough how strong that core of 3 tier 1s is. It's like you can't intimidate cycle the Iron Hands because King Gambit is sitting there, and then like the low tiers, it's like Doug Trio gives you another mon over 100, which is cool. Speed tier that is. Swalot exists. Oinkalone exists. I'm actually like I think Oinkalone's a really solid tier 5. Like there's a lot of really cool
Yeah.
defensive sets you can do with that thing. Quilladin, whatever. Uh I've never looked at its stat line before. 61, 95, 58 is not bad Eviolite bulk, especially on the FizzDef side. That's pretty solid. So maybe he's doing some, Eviolite Leech Seed with a defensive Terra kind of
I think it's the
stuff.
wide guard mon.
That's also pretty fair, yeah.
I think it's mostly her for wide guard. I think it's Super Fang too, so it can actually do some stuff with that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that or like a stall set could work, but
Hmm. It pivots for Flutter Mane too with bulletproof for Shadow Balls. So
true, true. I forgot about that. And Moonblast is not a bullet move, right? I don't think it is.
I don't think so. No.
That would be nice. Um but yeah, I mean, I think this team is super solid, and then Houndoom is just kind of, you know, a good fire type. Like Flash Fire in general, like I think type immunities in this meta where like anything can change to whatever type, I just think they're super broken. Like just the fact that no matter what type you tear it into, you will keep that immunity. So like steel or grass, like those are just super free terras. I mean, Houndoom's probably never gonna Terra Steel because you're still weak to like ground and fighting, but like grass is super free on it. I just think Flash Fire and Volt Absorb and that kind of stuff is just super good. What are your thoughts on this one, Ryan?
Yeah, I overall really like this team. It's very, very good. I do feel like there is a sense of you know what's coming, but it's going to be hard to stop. Um, that's kind of the way this team is built. I do think that my only real complaint with the team, honestly, is just that like the fast mode. Obviously Fluttermane's crazy fast, right? But then you kind of ignore Fluttermane, and Doug Trio will probably come sometimes, but you get rid of the Doug Trio, which I don't think is a super consistent bring, and it's like, okay, Houndoom, Vivillon, like those mons are 95, 89, so they're fast enough that you have to invest speed to outspeed them, but I don't know if it's fast enough, and I don't know. Fluttermane obviously gets Icy Wind, and the Vivillon gets Tailwind, but I don't know how often you want to tech those moves on those Pokemon, um, to let them do their thing, right? So I definitely think that that's kind of my only real complaint. I just would like to see. The team very much built itself the way it did, and I respect it. Because there's only so many points to go around. It's just that part of me, in an ideal world, would wish that the fast mode had a little bit more um, speed, just some faster speed tiers, a little bit better speed control. That's not gonna be surrendering a lot of move slots you might need.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Like Vivillon, I think is a mon that can be hard to even fit Tailwind on sometimes because you want
Yeah,
an attack, you want Sleep Powder, you want Rage Powder, and
yeah.
maybe
Pollen
Protect,
Puff,
or Pollen Puff. Yeah, like
Pollen
it
Puff, three Iron
definitely.
Hands. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh man, dude, that
yeah.
is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm good with this one.
Yep. It's a really good team. Like it, Benny.
Yeah, for sure.
You're gonna
All
kill a
right.
lot of fools with it.
True. All right, you want to start with Yeats?
Yes, I'm actually really glad I got this team because man, I love this team. It's such a cool team.
Fire Water Grass Core is
Uh,
nuts.
yeah, this is a very like I also like Gen 8 ran Heatran Rillaboom like 5 times. Because it's one of my favorite draft cores. So we got Heatran Rillaboom, Samurott Hisui, Dragalge, Dashbun, Cryogonal, Palossand, Grafaiai, Zapdos, Espeon, and Tandemaus. Um yeah, I mean, we can start with the Heatran Rillaboom Samurott. I mean, what a Firewater Grass core. Like, holy crap. Like, great output from that. The defensive synergy for those is really, really good. Heatran's one of, I think, the best Terramons this gen. I don't know if that's contentious to say. Um, and you also, honestly, that top four core, you can pair very easily with Zapdos. Um, and get even more defensive synergy out of it, and you can pivot it really nicely. Zapdos static obviously is really annoying for physical mons, and you get a Tailwind setter with that. Rillaboom's your fake out as well, so you can get other stuff set up. Like it's just really really good. It just works super super nicely. Um, you've got the Dragalge here, which I like for helps you beat fairies as well as the dragon typing's good. It just hits a lot of stuff. Dashbun's really nice with the Heatran like lava plume stuff. I've seen a lot of really cool Dashbun sets. I think this mon's generally very good. We're gonna see how it pairs with Heatran, but I'm very excited to see how Well Baked Body kind of plays with this team. I also do like Dashbun just as a pivot, just for the Rillaboom as well. I think that's going to be really nice. Cryogonal is, yeah, it gets Icy Wind, it levitates, it's okay. Palossand, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not 100%. Like Palossand, I guess is here just for Disquake stuff. I guess is that right? It's got a higher special attack though.
75 attack Earthquake, anyone?
Yeah, I mean it's you need every team needs a ground type in my opinion, and it's a ghost type as well. That's good offensively. It can do some stuff. I don't think it's going to be crazy. Grafaiai, for your prankster setter, I think is actually pretty good on this team. I'm not always the biggest fan of Grafaiai, but this team is definitely one that I think can make use of it. And I think that Doodle can do some stuff with this team with a couple of the Pokemon. And I think that even honestly, just like Prankster Weather and a lot of like denial stuff that Grafaiai has in its toolkit's really good here. Um, Zapdos is fast, good, solid attacker. Espeon being the Trick Room setter, something I have a little bit more mixed feelings about. I really like Espeon on the whole on this team. I think it does a lot. I think Magic Bounce is going to be good for status and things like that. And it just has good output. It's just a good, fast, like offensive support mon. I do somewhat. I'm not wholly convinced on its Trick Room setting though. If you end up wanting to use it for that, with for like your Dragalge and stuff like that. And Tandemaus, I mean, it gets Pop Bomb, but it doesn't get Follow Me or a lot of the stuff that its Evo gets. Decently fast Super Fang and Encore and stuff like that, which isn't bad, but I don't feel like that's like the most consequential mod on the team. I really quite like this team overall. I think it's pretty solid. I think for me, all I would do is I'd get maybe a slightly more reliable Trick Room setter, or keep Espeon and then just get rid of a Cryogonal or a Palossand or whatever. And I do think some of the team also doesn't really go the fastest. You've got two base 110 Pokemon, which is good, and then a 105 and a 90 and a 100 and a 95. But like, there are a lot of teams where their top speed core does beat yours, or are faster, or can get faster, especially with Paradox Mons. So you definitely want to be a little. I think some of the faster side of the speed tier stuff. I think your Tailwind setter is good, and you've got good fake out, so you can kind of work around it. But I do think that's something you're going to want to keep an eye out for. What do you got, Wake?
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I think this team is super solid. I think that I think compared to last gen, like type cores are a little bit less like quote unquote mandatory. But I still think like if you can get good type cores whilst like having cohesive pieces throughout, like I think it's still obviously a huge plus. And I think this Firewater Grass core is super strong. I'm really interested to see how Samurott does. I'm also interested to see if maybe we messed up and Rillaboom should have been tier 1. It's
I
definitely
voted it tier 1. Anyway.
you were in the minority. I don't remember who else voted. I don't remember where I voted it.
I voted it tier 1, I know. I think
I think
Charles also
Flamingo.
voted.
I think it might have been a 3-4 vote because I think this one
Yeah,
was
I think it was
close.
Flamingo, Charles, and I all voted it for tier 1.
So blame everyone that's not those three if it's too broken. But yeah, I mean, obviously, being able to lessen the earthquake damage into Heatran with Heatran's natural bulk, like you're gonna be eating earthquakes with Rillaboom on the field. Plus, you're just threatening ground types by existing too, which is awesome. Um, yeah, I do, like you said, I wish you had a better Trick Room setter to abuse that Dragalge, but like it's probably fine as just. I don't know. It's hard though because like Dragalge's not a mon that stands out to me as being like a super good anti-TR mon because of its speed tier's not that low.
Yeah, it's not as low as you'd want it to be.
Yeah, like I've found like I draft Arboliva a lot as an anti-trick room mon, and even then I have to run room service on it like a lot. So like
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely a world though where you have a really good Trick Room mode with the like Heatran Dragalge Dash Bun with like a Trick Room setter.
yeah,
Um, that could be really strong if you set that up a
for
certain way.
sure.
But
Yeah, I'm
that's
not really.
definitely me having played a team like this before too.
Hmm. And then like Grafaiai is cool. Like you can run unburden stuff if you want on this team.
Yeah.
Like it's probably not as like integral to the team as like a psychic terrain team would be with Grafaiai, but like against opposing psychic terrain, against opposing Serena, Bruxish, Fergraf, like you have that option, which is pretty cool. Because Grafaiai with doubled speed is faster than everything. But I mean, yeah, that's all I've really got for this one. I like
Yeah.
Zapdos here. Like Tandemos is kind of doesn't do anything, but it's there.
All right.
All right, number 6. I will start with this one since it's yours. So this is
Yeah.
Ryan's team.
Trainwreck.
It's definitely like not like a quote unquote like normal draft team. It's definitely like to me it's not super conventional, but there is like some conventional stuff. The Firewater Grass Core here with like Breloom and Iron Moth and Vaporeon is super good. I think the speed tiers here are really good. Like you can have your booster on Moth or Treads, both of which are mons that really like to have booster, but neither of them need booster. Like sometimes I see people draft multiple paradoxes, and I'm like, you might have some pressure between those two, trying to decide where like fit where you're putting your booster. But I think between these two, like, I think you'll be fine in terms of not having too much conflict for that. I like Gothita as like a tier 5 trapper and maybe Trick Room setter if it can survive that long. And then I think Avalugg is cool just as kind of an anti-Trick Room piece. Obviously, Grimmsnarl is insanely broken. I think this mon is so stupid. It's definitely, in my opinion, the third best prankster user. I wouldn't think that would be super. It might. My hot take of the day is it might even be a better prankster mon than Thundurus, but this is not the place for my hot takes. So if you can yell at me in the Discord server if you think I'm crazy for that one. But like Breloom is kind of one of your signatures. I know you're really good at using it. Obviously not part of the assessment here, but obviously worth noting. But yeah, overall, I mean, I just think like your speed control here is really good. Like between Noivern and Grimmsnarl being your main two, but then like Iron Moth and Iron Treads just being able to have the booster speed on them means that like they kind of don't really need speed control depending on where you put it. And then Zoroark too. I didn't even talk about Zoroark. Like Zoroark just every time I look at a team and I'm like, oh, okay,
It's not on the team anymore.
That is true.
It is a Gardevoir now. which
I actually do like the Gardevoir here a lot, but with the Zoroark here, like illusion is just so annoying, dude. Like,
Yeah.
man, I hate playing around that shit. But yeah, you wanna touch on your own team here, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say a ton. This team is I mentioned there being some experimental teams. This team is definitely me experimenting a bit. I have some stuff with this team I want to experiment with, and it's a little unconventional on purpose in some ways. You didn't touch on it. I do actually have a Disquake mode. Rotom Iron Treads Disquake is a thing the team has, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, mostly this is like a I don't think that it's like super rocket science-y in terms of like the idea. Like the Grimmsnarl really was kind of the glue piece for the team when I was making it, and it was kind of like what will pair well with the Grimmsnarl to let me do a lot of damage with it. So that's kind of how the team got itself put together. Very excited to play it. Glad to be back after a long hiatus. We'll see how this mess of Pokemon does together.
All right. Well, we can move on then to number 5. You want to start with Solinor's team, the
Yes.
team that he thinks is very bad.
Yeah, this team I think is pretty good, but I do think that it does fall into that experimental category I was just talking about. Where I think that, I mean, like it's kind of a stall team. Like we'll just get that out of the way immediately. So it's Cresselia, Mudsdale, Persian, Quavel, Honchkrow, Chestnut, Skiploom, Arcanine Hisui, Klefki, Jolteon, Seviper. This team is not, by the way, fully a stall team. There's a lot of good offensive output. Honchkrow, Quavel, Jolteon, Chestnut, like Mudsdale, once it gets boosted in, is really hard to stop. Cresselia can set up Calm Minds and kill the whole game, but like you just kind of look at how like thick the team is, and Arcanine Hisui obviously with Rockhead can just nuke anything. But you kind of look at the team and you kind of realize very quickly that this is like really bulky and has a lot of stuff that's like, Chestnut, Leech Seed Stall, Mudsdale, and Cresselia setting up for 10 years. There's a lot of that kind of stuff on this team. The behind the Klefki dual screens, I really like Klefki Cresselia. One of the first things I noticed about this team is that like that alone covers almost any support need on the team, and it lets you run Cresselia way more flexibly. Having the Klefki here just really opens up what you are able to run on it. I like the Persian here for the faster mode. It's you've got that technician or a nerve, you get the fake out, you get the fake tears, all sorts of stuff. Quavel seems pretty good on a team like this, where when you get things low, you can kind of just Moxie boost, clean up. Same with the Honchkrow. You can get things low, kind of Moxie boost or super luck through stuff. I really like the Chestnut here. I think it's pretty solid. Skiploom was drafted very, very, very early on this team. And it kind of does the same stuff as the Venonat from earlier. Um, and I don't know how I feel about that. Because I think it's a good mon, for sure. And you can, put it next to the Klefki and set Sunny Day and then be really, really obnoxious, right? So like there's definitely, and it's got base 80 speed, which is also pretty good. So like you kind of combine all that together, and it's got like Encore, Strength Sap, Sleep Powder, all that kind of stuff. So like Under Sun, that's pretty good, and Under Sun having the Arcanine is obviously really strong. So there's like a mini Sun mode here. And Jolteon, I think, is just a good mod. Good fast support, good offensive support piece. And Seviper, I don't know. It's a Pokemon on the team. I don't really know what it's going to do here, but it sounds fun.
Survivor's
Overall,
move pool is really good.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
its haze and stuff.
Yeah. Overall, I think this is a pretty good team. This is one I definitely need to I need to see played a lot, like, before I decide how strong or broken or not broken it is. Because there's a lot of like things that are making me go, "What if?" on this team, and that's not in a negative way. That's just in a I haven't seen this style of draft in in a while, because this style of draft didn't really work in Gen 8. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is overall really solid. I think like the bulky modes here between like like having Cresselia and Mudsdale and Chestnut and stuff like behind screens. Chestnut can click, bulk up or iron defense and click stab body press, which is super broken. Mudsdale can set itself up by taking hits, and then just like, then you have on the fast end like fast fake out. Um, I do wish there was maybe like one more thing over base 100 because you're like I just think it's not that the speed control here is bad. It's like I feel like it's a little awkward just in terms of like how often are you gonna want to put Thunderwave on Klefki and then like you have Icy Wind on Cresselia. I mean, don't get me wrong, Thunderwave Klefki is broken,
I
but
don't think this
between
team
like
needs to move. I don't think this team cares about speed
well,
control. Is the
yeah, I
thing.
was I was just gonna that's where I was going with that. Like I
Yeah.
don't think it's the hugest deal. I do think like it would still benefit from maybe having a little bit better speed control, but
Mhm.
I mean Honchkrow Tailwind, Cresselia Icy Wind, Persian Icy Wind, like Klefki T Wave, you're fine. Um, Especially because like sometimes, yeah, like Mudsdale might want to move second sometimes, but then your trickery mode is solid. Um, I mean, it's pretty much just like Klefki setting it for Mudsdale, but I mean, like Chestnut can kind of work under Trick Room too, I think. But yeah, I also like I just kind of want to see this thing played. I think in theory, in practice, I think that the bulk might just be too much to break for some teams. Um, but yeah, I don't really have much else to say here. I like the Arcanine too. I think Arcanine is pretty solid. Um, and one more thing. I do actually like too that there's like the Quaquaval, Jolteon, Persian mode. Like, I think sometimes people draft these kind of bulky teams that don't have like a blitzy mode, and I think having like at least one mode that you can just lead and kill stuff, I think that's always valuable because it makes because like when you see like let's say this team, like let's say you look at just the bulky mons in this team, it's like okay, I'm bringing toxic for everything, and I'm bringing taunt on everything, and I'm bringing haze and like stuff like that just kind of naturally like quote unquote beats stall slash defensive teams. But then like Persian and Quaquaval and Jolteon just kind of say like I'm gonna click fast fake out and icy wind you and aqua step you and like those moves do nothing to those three. So I just think that's super solid, and I didn't want to let that one go by without mentioning it. But yeah, that's about it for this one. You got anything else, Ryan?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, I will start with number 4, and this is Flamingo's team. Um, I helped him draft this one, and he was well, less helped and more. He sent me pics, and I was like, yeah, I think that looks good, bro. But I think this team is phenomenal. I think that in general, like your modes for Baxcalibur here are stupid. Like being able to Terra Ground Earthquake next to Earthworm and Talonflame both. Talonflame setting Tailwind for it. Screamtail being like booster speed. Clicking Howl for it, I think is really good. Like your Bax modes here, I think are just super convincing. And then you have great defensive answers for it with like Glimora and Earthworm. As we saw week 1, but I probably would have said this without. Like I think Mudbray is really good tier 5, and like its stats are good, and its Eviolite bulk is good, and like it can definitely do stuff. Sorry if that's too soon, Ryan, but
It's not too
um,
soon. That mon definitely put some work in that week.
But then like you also just have the power of like Metacham on its own. Clawitzer and Lurantis are just like good value pieces that hit pretty hard. Pikachu is like whatever here to me. Like you don't have like I don't think the lightning rod is like super important, but just having semi-fast fake out I think is fine, and it hits really hard. Like it's not something you can really ignore in prep just because of how much damage it can do with like light ball stuff.
I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
over
That's still the funniest draft pick I've ever seen in a channel.
his Pikachu,
Yeah, did you see what happened there?
I don't remember it.
I'll hold on. I'm gonna find it. Keep talking.
Okay. Um,
I gotta read what he said. Oh, okay, I found it. God damn, I was looking at the list and what did my daughter see? Pikachu. That's Arlie's Pikachu. Looks like I'm drafting Pikachu.
um,
So that's
that
my
is
Pikachu's
hilarious.
on the team.
Um, but yeah, I mean, in general, like I just think the defensive synergy here is pretty good. Um, and like your kind of cringe bulky stall modes with like Mudbray and Screamtail and Glimora and Orthworm, I think provide a nice like second layer to this team, kinda beyond the just set Tailwind and click moves with Baxcalibur and Glimora kind of mode, and Medicham and Clawitzer. Pretty much the
Yeah.
whole team can function under Tailwind. But what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I think this team's really good, just generally. It's got there's definitely some unconventional. There's like some stuff that's a little unconventional here. And there's like I feel like every Mondo can come when I was prepping. I felt like because I played this team week 1. I felt like any of the Mons could have come when I was prepping, which definitely is always something I take note of whenever I'm doing prep for a given week. Um, and I don't know, the team overall is just it's like very cohesive top to bottom. Like the things on it make sense and work pretty well together. I do think the team leans a little physical. That was one thing I ran into. The Glamora definitely helps a lot with that, and you have Clawitzer and stuff. But I do think like um, Screamtail's usually going to be run special, but it doesn't really matter because Screamtail doesn't have a great special attacking stat. So I did feel like, at least when I was prepping, that a lot of these mons are typically run physical. He already has whipped out the special Talonflame, and I feel like part of the reason why special Talonflame might be coming already is because like it's like, oh, I need to get some special output on this target, which isn't a bad thing. Special Talonflame can work pretty well, but I do think that's something to be mindful of. You know, Other than that, though, I really don't have a lot to say. It's a very good team, just through and through. It works. It makes sense altogether, and it's tough to play against. So, good luck for this
Sure.
season.
All right, we will move on, and you want to start with Joey's team here in the top 3. And I will note before Ryan starts with this one, our top 3. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but we achieved these rankings by averaging out the scores, separate rankings from me, Ryan, and Flamingo. And our top 3, 1, 2, and 3, were all averages of 1, 2, and 3. So that means they were unanimously our top 3. I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was pretty cool. Continue,
Yeah,
Ryan.
that's very rare. I think everybody put me at 6 too, which was pretty funny. I don't remember exactly. I might have put myself lower. Anyway, Joey, we've got Walking Wake, Torn T, Scovillain, Rabska, Florges, Sanaconda, Sliggoo, Hisui, Torkoal, Bellybolt, Kamala, Slitherwing. This is the Sun team, folks. This is the team that has Sun. Um, I'm really excited to see some Scovillain get played. I think this is a team that can make it work really well. Walking Wake, Torkoal, obviously pretty good. I really like the Slitherwing on this team a lot. That ended up being, I think, a very late pick on the team, because I think Joey just knew that like he was good to take it late, and I really like what a Protosynthesis Slitherwing looks like on this team. Um, and then you kind of pivot and you go, okay, well, how's the speed tiers and stuff like that? And it's actually quite good. The Torn T, um, amazing Tailwind Setter, really good tier 2 Pokemon. One of the best value picks in tier 2 for sure. Can do a lot of stuff. I will say, I do worry slightly just because just about landing special attacks with it, because you're going to be in the sun a lot and you can't land Hurricane very reliably. So that'll be something to keep in mind. But
Liquid
overall,
Storm, easy.
that move misses so much though. I feel like a reliable air stab's a little hard on Torn in this team, I think, which
Yeah.
is okay. Um, Rapska's a really good Trick Room setter. It obviously has Revival Blessing as well, which I actually think could be very good on this team. Florges Symbiosis is nice. You can Symbiosis. You have 2 Photosynthesis mods on this team, which is cool. I also just think having like a nice special pivot's pretty good on this team, and I think that it has some like valuable resists, so I think it'll get some use. Sanaconda's a mon that's been honestly a little surprising this gen when I've seen it played. Very, very good. I do think most of the time you wouldn't be running the Sandspit set. I feel like a lot of the time you'd be instead going for the Shedskin set on this Pokemon, but it can do some solid ground type damage. Sliggoo is a Pokemon on the team. Does it? I mean, it's got some good stats. Um, it's got some very good stats. I'm not 100% sure what it's going to do week to week, but definitely has some potential. I quite like Torkoal on this team. You obviously have a pretty good Trick Room mode with the Rabska and the Belly Bolt I'm about to get to. And then you have a really good fast mode for it. And then you actually have your Sun Abusers are a little bit more unconventional because Poppy took all of them. So I am I am curious to see, obviously you got the Chlorophyll Scovillain, but there's not like a lot of the usual suspects you see on Torkoal teams. No Lilligant, that kind of thing, and I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's going to work pretty well. I especially like how strong these photosynthesis mons get. And then Kamala's actually pretty good, just physical attacker. It actually has a really deep move pool for some reason, and gets a lot of cool little support moves that it can use, and I like the Belly Bolt here pretty well. Overall, it's a great team. I think it's going to perform really well. Like all Sun teams, the main concern is just some type overlap stuff. Um, because all Sun teams are kind of built that way. They're always going to have some like missing types or some type overlap and things like that. And that just kind of comes with the territory here a little bit. No fake outs. That's something else I noticed about this team that was a little bit like, there's no fake out user, which I don't super love that. But other than that, I really don't have a lot to say. I do think that there is a sense of if you can't maintain Sun, I do think the output's still good enough to win, but I do think that you will have to play your Sun and your Sun turns very carefully with this particular comp, especially because a lot of the Prankster Weathermons did get drafted.
Yeah, I agree in general. I think this, obviously, we all put it in number three. This team is super solid. Your speed control options are great. One of the major detriments to me is not having fake out. Not a huge fan of that, but I don't think it's like team ruining. I think that, yeah, the sun mode here is good. Poppy definitely did pull a Pokemon Master Dad and just took all of the all of the sun abusers. Hopefully he doesn't disappear on us and complete the complete the Pokemon Master Dad cycle. But
The arc, yeah.
anyway, yeah, I think it's cool too, like having Walking Wake and Torn. Just like, yeah, okay, set Prankster's Rain Dance on this team, and boom, I'm clicking Hydro Steams that are just as strong as if they were in Sun, and I can click Bleak Windstorm or Hurricane on both of them. Like they get like little bonuses from Rain, which I think is cool, given that Prankster Rain is such a obvious kind of piece of
Way.
counterplay.
Mhm.
And yeah, I like the Scovillain here. I'm really interested to see that mon get played. I really haven't seen it drafted like at all. Um, so I think like for tier three, like just having the chlorophyll option and having rage powder, moody stuff, like I think that's pretty cool. Rage powder, like high rolling with a couple moody procs, could be insanely broken. Like if you just roll evasion or defense or no, you can't roll evasion anymore, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, right. But you can.
Oh wait. Yeah, I don't think you can. I'll
I
check.
don't. I think they changed that. But you can just roll defense and SPDF, which is like also good.
Yeah,
So
except
yeah.
accuracy.
But yeah, I like this a lot. Like Sliggoo is a low tier that I think it's definitely one of those things that's like it's not gonna be good most of your weeks, but there might be 1 or 2 weeks where the opponent just doesn't have anything for it. In which case
Yeah, I
it
mean
can
it's got
just like win.
113 SPDF, so like it's got it's got a purpose.
And it gets iron defense, so like you can wall stuff pretty well with it, I think. And
Yeah, it's
then
good in Trick Room too. You can like
yeah.
acid spray people and life do and whatever. So
I like being
it's
able
good.
to like revival blessing your Torkoal to get sun back up if it dies. I like being able to revival blessing Torn or Walking Wake just in general because they're so good. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this team. I think it's super strong, and I'm excited to see Joey use it. All right, 2 more to go. This is number 2, and this is Joshy's team. So this is another one of the more top-heavy teams. Well, it's as top-heavy as you can go on this tier list. Torn, Chien-Pao, Great Tusk is a stupid core of 3 Pokemon.
It's so fucking dumb.
I know.
That alone puts this team at least top half, like
Yeah.
if not higher. Like, oh my god.
And then your abusers for like your sort of ruin abusers between like mainly Floatzel and Bisharp, like Leafeon and Avalugg can use it too, but like Floatzel and Bisharp are going to be doing damage with sort of ruin up. And Bisharp also provides you some Defiant because otherwise your team is I don't think Defiant Torn is that good anymore.
I don't either.
Like I'm sure it's got use cases, but like I don't know when this team specifically would ever want to run that when you could just click Tailwind, you know, like,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Defiant support is really good on Bisharp. The amount of priority this team has is pretty strong. Great Tusk, I am a huge Great Tusk fan. Torn Great Tusk is like I have that pairing in GLDL in the other division. Man, that shit is broken, dude. Like Sunny Day for it, Leer for it, Tailwind. Like Torn just has literally everything that Great Tusk wants in like a support. So that pairing is just insane. And then you combine it with the fact that you can like click Tailwind or Sunny Day and then switch in Chien-Pao the next turn and just kill everything. And it's like, dude, the power here is nuts. Avalugg is a really solid value tier 5. Will it come often? Probably not, but it does something and it's pretty strong, so there's that. Capsakid gets Rage Powder. Again, it's probably not going to come very much, but it's there, you know?
It's there for the Sun mode. The Torn here is also like the manual Weathermon. Like,
right, yeah.
It's clicking Rain Dance and it's clicking Sunny Day a lot for the Hisuian, Typhlosion, Leafeon, you know?
Yeah, and I like and Floatzel as well for Rain Dance. So like
and Great Tusk, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, so you're getting a lot of value out of like most of your Torn moves here, which is super cool. Yeah, I mean the team is just super well constructed around Torn. I think that's kind of the central piece, and then you have like everything benefits from Torn, and then most of everything else benefits from Chien-Pao. If it doesn't benefit from both things, which most of this team does. Maybe it's a little Trick Room soft. Like I'm not sure that Bronzor is going to be enough to deter like a really strong Trick Room mode from going into this team, but also it's like with the amount of spread damage this team has and the raw damage output here, I think you have pretty consistent ways to stop Trick Room from going up. Like
you could Trick Room if you're dead.
Right, like what are you gonna do if Joshy just like okay, I'm leading Fake Out Trick Room. Joshy Torn with Sunny Day and Typhlosion. Torn has Covert Cloak. What do? You Terra Water, and if you don't have a Terra to Water, does like anything live a Terra Fire Sun boosted Typhlosion Eruption? Probably not.
Like no.
So like yeah, you just have really good like little 2-mon combos that can stop Trick Room. Same with like Chien-Pao plus Great Tusk or Torn plus Great Tusk. Like you have super good options there. I like this team. This is like a super me kind of team too. So like I'm probably a little biased in liking it so much. But what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, this team's really good. I do think it's a hair Trick Room soft, but I honestly don't think it's going to be that big a deal. The priority on this team also helps a lot with that. There's just a lot of really good priority moves that can kind of help you get around that. I think Leafeon's going to be cracked. I'm super excited for that mon in particular. We didn't mention it. Electros gives you a Disquake mode. Not a great one, but, you know, you have one. Which, that's cool. Always like to see that. Capsakid could come, I think, a little bit more than you'd expect just because of some of its move pool stuff, but I still don't think it's going to come super, super often. Yeah, this team is just, I mean, it's great. It's so good top to bottom. I think that The other thing I will comment, this team does set Sunny Day a lot, for a lot of its modes. Opposing fire moves though look kind of good into some of these Pokemon. Great Tusk's big thing is it doesn't have the best Spit F, right? And Leafeon's not taking it, Bisharp's not taking it, especially like Sun Boosted Avalug's not taking it. So like that is something you definitely do have to be careful around, especially when planning your Terras. Is opposing fire types basically, just because I think they have a pretty good niche into this team. Um, but that's very minor. I think that this team's just dumb. I'm not excited to play it.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not in this division. All right. Well, if you're good with this one, then we can move on to number one. And number one
Yes.
is Thunderball's team. After saying last night in VC he thought he was going to get last. Why don't you start with this one, Ryan?
Yeah, so it was actually unanimous that Thunderball would get first, which it's interesting because I just think that there was some really smart construction decisions that happened with this team. First off, Enamorus was the last pick of the draft, which is wild. Um, just kept that tier 1 slot open the whole time. Um, but yeah, I mean, just like Kilowattrel and Enamorus, like alone, like that is such a dumb lead. Like you can Eerie Impulse your contrary Enamorus and kill anything. You can Tailwind, You can you got two Tailwind setters there. You've got the Disquake mode with the Kilowattrel Crocodile. The speed tiers on this team are great. Slow end and fast end are all really, really, really good. The Appleton Berserker kind of Trick Room mode with the Carbink as the setter. Like, I love Berserker TR modes, and this one's a really good one. Gallade's great, and especially in Tailwind, that's kind of where it shines, I think. And Sharpness Gallade just hits like a truck. A lot of good output from that. Spupa has Friend Guard, I guess, which is okay. Crocodile's just such a nice splashable piece. Intimidate, Moxie, and Anger Point. This team can Anger Point it as well with the Frostlass. So you have Anger Point Crocodile, you've got the really good Moxie set, and it pairs really well with a lot of stuff on the team. You've got Berserker, which I think is like one of the best low tier steel types. It gives you that as well. It also gives you that fake out user that you kind of need. Frostlass is such a good like fast support piece. It's just really good at clicking Icy Wind. It's got a really great move pool. It can do a lot of really, really cool stuff. Taunt, Thunder Wave. It gets, I think, both screens. So that mon's definitely got a lot of purpose here. Basculin for a low tier water type, it gets adaptability. So it can nuke some stuff. And then I haven't even talked about Ceruledge, which I know is a mon that you love, Wake, but Ceruledge looks really good on this comp. The
Yep.
Flash Fire set with Terra, getting it under, again, very good in Tailwind on this team, and generally just really, really strong, can do a lot for the comp. Yeah, I think that like this team definitely doesn't have like I feel like the last two teams had modes that are perhaps a bit stronger than this team, but like when you look at like the overall like construction of what it can do, I think that this team, that's kind of what put this one over the edge, and I really just liked how smartly it was drafted throughout.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, Enamorus going last pick is so funny to me. But yeah, I mean, this team is just super, super solid. Like, I like that there's a Tailwind setter that's not Enamorus, so that you don't have to put Tailwind on Enamorus, because I definitely think it likes to have just attacks. You have cool stuff like Kilowattrel can Feather Dance Enamorus for contrary bullshit. That's pretty awesome. And then I apologize for the squeaking chair in the background. But then you have like your fast blitzy mode. It's kind of structured kind of similarly to Wade's team, I think. Like you have your fast blitzy mode with like Kilowattrel, Enamorus, Gallade, Crook, Basculin if you want. Ceruledge can be part of that, like just clicking Flare Blitz and shit. But then you have your kind of slow, annoying, stally mode supported by like Carbink and setting screens and Trick Room and Berserker clicking Fake Out to let Ceruledge and Appleton set up. I think having that depth, like I said, with both Solanor and Wade's team, I think that kind of depth is super cool. Spupa's a pretty great tier 5 just to click Rage Powder and die. I'm a pretty big Basculegion fan. I think it's really solid for the tier. Just having that amount of damage output is pretty awesome. And yeah, I mean, like I just think this team is super well constructed. Like the synergy here is just so well thought out. Like the type cores are good, the defensive synergy is good, the offensive synergy is also good, which I feel like sometimes is overlooked in the sake of just focusing on defensive synergy.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I've got to say on this one. I really love this team. You got anything else for this one, Ryan?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks to Ryan for helping me out with this. Sorry we couldn't get Flamingo on here. He wanted to be here, but time zones are not fun to deal with. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm super excited for the season. I know we're already in the process of finishing up week 2, so already seen some fire matches. So super excited for the rest of the season, and peace out, y'all.